Jane had always been an anxious person. She spent most of her life avoiding anything that made her uncomfortable, from social events to new experiences. She was content living a small, safe life, but deep down, she knew she was capable of so much more. One day, while browsing the internet, she came across a quote that resonated with her. "If you want to conquer fear, don't sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy." For some reason, those words stuck with her, and she knew it was time to face her fears head-on. But how does one conquer fear? Jane didn't know where to start, so she decided to seek out those who had already done it. She spent hours scouring the internet for stories of people who had overcome their fears, from skydiving to public speaking. She read about a woman who had been afraid of heights her whole life, but decided to climb Mount Everest. She read about a man who had been paralyzed with fear of rejection, but decided to start his own business. These stories of triumph over fear filled her with hope and inspiration. But Jane didn't want to simply mimic what others had done. She wanted to forge her own path, to find a way to overcome her fear that was uniquely hers. So she began to experiment. First, she tried meditation. She found that by focusing on her breath and letting go of her thoughts, she could calm her anxious mind. But she soon realized that this alone wouldn't be enough to conquer her fears. Next, she tried exposure therapy. She forced herself to do things that made her uncomfortable, from striking up conversations with strangers to trying new foods. This was a huge step forward for her, but she still felt limited by her fears. Finally, she stumbled upon something that would change her life forever, a form of extreme sports called free soloing. It involved climbing sheer rock faces without ropes or safety gear. The idea terrified her, but something about it called to her. She began training rigorously, building up her strength and endurance. She started with small climbs and worked her way up to bigger and more challenging ones. With each climb, she felt her fears melting away. One day, she found herself at the foot of a massive cliff face. It was the biggest challenge she had ever faced, and every fiber of her being was telling her to turn back, but she refused to listen. With a deep breath, she began to climb. As she ascended the cliff, she felt more alive than ever before. Her heart was pounding and her muscles were burning, but she pushed through the pain. When she finally reached the top, she felt an incredible sense of accomplishment. Jane had finally conquered her fears, and it had been an unconventional journey. But she had learned that there was no one-size-fits-all approach to overcoming fear. Each person's journey was unique, and it was up to them to find the path that worked for them. In the end, Jane had not only conquered her fears, but had also discovered a new passion. She continued to free solo, pushing herself to new heights, both physically and mentally. She had learned that fear was not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. For it was only through facing our fears that we could truly grow and thrive.